All right. Welcome to the Reclaiming the Temple podcast, where we explore how to align our bodies, minds, and spirits with God's original design for us. I'm your host, Michael Wilson. Today we're diving into one of the most powerful, transformative practices, both biblically and scientifically, fasting. If you've seen me on TikTok at any point over the last several weeks, then you'll know that I have spent considerable amount of time talking about the many, many benefits of fasting, both physically, mentally, and emotionally. I've personally experienced the power of fasting, not just in a physical sense, but spiritually as well. That's how my journey really began a few years ago. First with weight loss of 30 pounds in a 21-day period, but the mental, emotional, and spiritual clarity that I received as a part of that process was just was just so amplifying, and God has just allowed me to dive into so many different things from that point forward. Even writing a book called Reclaiming the Temple, which this podcast is actually based on. So let's get started today, just simply talking about fasting. So, from a biblical perspective, fasting really isn't anything new. It's something that is as old as time, really. It's something that we see very early on in the scriptures. It's something that God put in front of us to allow us to seek Him and to gain clarity and also to develop self discipline. If you go back and you look through the scriptures, you can look at Moses, where he fasted for 40 days before receiving the Ten Commandments. Daniel fasted from certain types of foods and what we know in a modern day Daniel fast, which is actually where my journey started, um, where you see him rise above with more spiritual discipline and incredible wisdom and strength in comparison to everyone else in the culture. And of course, you see in the New Testament Jesus himself fasting for 40 days in the wilderness before he begins his ministry. Every single festival in the Old Testament is marked by a season of fasting before the feasting. You even can go so far as to see what Jesus says in Matthew chapter 6 when he makes the statement, when you fast, do not look sober as the hypocrites do, but when you fast, anoint your head, wash your face, that your fasting may not be seen by others, but by your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. So you really notice in that statement, he didn't say if, but he said when. I'm not saying it's an expectation, but I think God instituted something that we should be able to see the spiritual, physical, mental, and emotional benefits. And the fasting expectation is as we discipline ourselves, we we get the reward for that discipline. So when we think about that from a spiritual standpoint, we also definitely want to know what those scientific benefits are. So let's talk about that for just a moment. While fasting is an incredible spiritual discipline, God also designed our bodies to benefit from it physically. First, fasting helps with fat loss. It also helps with metabolism. I know that from the time of my first experiences with an extended fast to taking time to fast for 24 and 36 hours, and from taking time to intermittent fast pretty much every single day, I can definitely attest to fat loss and metabolism boost because of that. When you fast, your insulin levels drop, allowing your body to burn stored fat for energy, which is going to necessitate the loss of fat on your body. Then there's the process known as autophagy, where the body actually starts to clean up a lot of the dead cells and things that are inside of you that you need repairing and you need removing from the system to improve your overall health. And studies have also shown that fasting improves our insulin sensitivity, which helps regulate blood sugar, even boosts mental clarity by increasing the production of brain boosting hormones. If you see my TikTok, I've talked about that multiple times. Now, something fascinating is that your body actually adapts to fasting over time. We tend to think that it's going to be too hard, it's not going to be possible, and I can attest that it is very difficult in the early portions of a fasting season. That first 36 hours of any kind of extended fast is usually very difficult. But once you get to a particular point, your body begins to adapt, and you begin to no longer have what what I would just call withdrawal symptoms, because most of the foods that we eat, both even trying to eat healthily, are still covered in things that we probably shouldn't consume. And when we get to that point and allow ourselves the healing process, our bodies begin to respond to that after a certain period of time. Um, when you think about it, you can make it a little bit easier for yourself by sticking to more of an intermittent style fast and then moving into more longer phased fasting. I recommend that 16-8 fasting window, a 16-hour fast with 8 hours that you can actually consume. Something that people don't think about when they think about fasting from a scientific standpoint is you do it every day. Every time you sleep, you're no longer eating. You don't have the ability to eat. Your body has the chance to only focus on processing and regenerating and rejuvenating and renewing um, during those moments of sleep. So if you add to that time, you just need to add time on the front end before you go to bed and add time on the back end after you wake up. And once you've done that, you look up and 16 hours have gone by and you can begin to eat in a slow uh, fashion to bring your body back up to its normal capacity and function. So some things that I know I've been asked recently, especially with my followers on TikTok, practical tips. What is it that I can do in addition to that 16-8 fasting? You always want to make sure that you're preparing yourself. So one of the major things that I think people miss out on a lot is just preparation. We want to go head first into things. We want to do it quickly. We want to get in it, and when we get in it, we realize, holy cow, this is a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. And so you want to really prepare yourself for that. You want to ease into it before you even go into a fast. I remember the first time that we really journeyed into a serious 21-day fast, we slowly over the previous week to almost 10 days had slowly began cutting out a lot of processed foods and sugars and a lot of the things like that. Sweet tea is a huge deal in the South, and when you're thirsty, you don't drink water, you drink sweet tea. And so that sugar that you put in your body day in and day out, over and over again. I haven't had a glass of sweet tea. It's 2025. I haven't had a glass of sweet tea since 2017. It's been almost 8 years since that first fast that really helped me to cleanse that out of my system. So you want to slowly ease into it and prepare your body for what's going to take place. One of the major things is that you've got to stay hydrated. Water will be your best friend during a fast. You can drink black coffee. You can have teas without any additional sugars or anything like that in it. And electrolytes are always a huge part of that as well. Does it taste great? No, but I also recommend, highly recommend, a Himalayan sea salt. Make sure you pay attention to where it's processed. Um, a Celtic sea salt, which is my preferred choice. I use a Celtic sea salt. I actually drink it in my coffee every morning. And there's also a Baja Gold salt that you can use as well. That's highly recommended. But that'll just help you to keep those minerals and the vitamins that your body needs, in addition to the loss that you're going to have from food during a fast. The third thing that I would recommend is you want to listen to your body. Like, one of the big things that I think people forget is that our bodies are a temple. That's what my book is all about, reclaiming the temple. I want the temple to last as long as it can, because the Word of God says that it should last 120 years to be exact. The Bible says that man's days are numbered at 120 years, and that's really where my journey began. Why are we not living that long? Why do we not see those kind of numbers in our culture? And the answer is pretty simple. We don't take care of the temples that we've been given. And so you want to be able to get to a point where you listen to your body. Now, hunger is a little bit different, because hunger can be psychological, and your brain will begin to make your stomach make sounds and gurgle and all of those things, and you're going to think you're hungry, and you're going to feel lightheaded, and you're going to have all of these other things that take place, and you have to be really sensitive and discerning about what your body's trying to tell you. Obviously, if you get to a point where I was for a season, that migraine headaches was a massive problem, especially during the first week of the full 21 days that we did. I probably had a migraine headache 4 days out of the first 7 days. Like, when I say migraine headache, I mean debilitating. Laying in the bed, almost to the point of vomiting, just could not could not deal. I wasn't going to take any medication. I was probably a little bit more stubborn than I should have been. But I just had a belief in my mind that this was more of a withdrawal type syndrome than it was anything else, that my body is rejecting what I'm doing because of what I've done to it. And as I allowed myself to rest and allowed myself to just say, I'm not going to break this fast. I'm going to do what needs to be done. My body got stronger and my body was able to take more. My body wasn't asking me for any more food than what I was giving it. So when you get ready to come out of that, after you've made it through that journey, whether you're doing just a simple 24-hour fast, or another highly recommended 36 hours is really a good spot to find yourself in if you're kind of jumping into this, slowly jumping into this. But when you get ready to break your fast, you want to be sure that you don't go straight back to some of the things that you just gave up. You want to start slowly and start adding some things that have a little bit of protein attached to it. Some of your healthy, lighter bone broths and eggs that are locally farmed and not processed in such a way that they've got all these hormones and everything else injected into them, or light vegetables like avocados and things of that nature to give your body what it needs to properly come out of that fast. Then you want to start trying to consider making it a lifestyle. And that's kind of where I am right now, where 16 and 8 is about the spot that I find myself in. Now, I'm just going to be really candid and honest. It's still difficult. Even in a 16-8 window, it's still very difficult because you'll find yourself craving things for no reason. You're not hungry. Your body doesn't need anything. You know you're not hungry, but psychologically, your mind is telling you you got to eat, you got to eat, you got to eat. And it's just a constant battle that you have to fight through. And you want to make sure that even in a 16-8 window, that when you come out of that, you're breaking that fast with the right things. Like I said, eggs, very wholesome, very light fare to come back away from that. I also, you just simply prepare chicken breast is another easy way for an intermittent fast. Very good protein source. There's 1,000 other things that you can do when you are preparing to do that. So when you think about all of that, and you consider what you would want to do in a fast, I hope that you would start slow, but I hope that it would be something that is on your mind, because there's so much benefit to stepping into something that I know the Bible says is good for me. And I've said this many times before, from my role in teaching on Sundays in a church, and from my role as a personal trainer in the gym, and as a nutrition coach, and just in life in general. Like, these things are here because God put them in front of us. And when God says they're good, it's not something I need to shy away from. And, I think you just need to remember a few things. Like, so many people want to use it just for weight loss. And it's a good tool for that, but it's going to have its limitations in weight loss, and you're going to break it at some point. But it's about the discipline factor. It's about disciplining yourself with that, saying, I'm only going to do this during this time. I'm not going to eat for this 24 hours, and then sticking to that, and then coming out of that the right way. You find that it doesn't just discipline your dietary structure, it disciplines a lot of other areas in life that ultimately helps to strengthen your faith. Obviously, it has incredible health benefits, from fast loss to mental clarity and even disease prevention. So if you are considering that, I just encourage you, ease into it. Like, don't think that you have to jump into this whole full force, gonna make myself sick. Like, just start very simply and slowly. Maybe it's just you're in that phase right now where I just need to give up processed food. I need to give up processed sugar, or I need to drop, you fill in the blank. And start by dropping that over the course of a week, and then look at where you are, look at what is transpiring around you, look how you feel, look how your mind is working, and see where you are spiritually. And if that is something that's been beneficial, then you can go back and you can say, you know what, I think it's time to go a little bit further. Don't think of this as as a sprint. This is more of a marathon. This is something that you want to do for longevity. Longevity means that we're going to do this for a long period of time, and we want to be able to do that the right way. So I just want to continue to encourage you. You'll continue, if you're following me on TikTok, you'll continue to see me talk about this, especially leading up to Easter in just a few weeks, because this 40-day period that's known as Lent is all about fasting. And I want to dispel the myths and tell you the truths and help you to realize that there are some super spiritual benefits, and there's also some very, very real physical, mental, and emotional benefits as real. And I'd love to hear from you how fasting has impacted your life. I'd love for you to be able to, send me a message on TikTok. You can look me up at citizen.soldier.fitness on TikTok, and let's continue this conversation. Like, reach out. I also offer coaching packages that are built around the Reclaiming the Temple book and some of the principles that you find there, not just fasting, but the physicality side of things, getting into fitness and getting into nutrition on the other side of fasting. And I'd love to be able to help you with that as well. So if you want to dive deeper into that and reclaiming your health, you can grab a copy of the book, available now. You can get it in my TikTok shop, but you can also get it on Amazon as well. Thanks for tuning in today, and I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, it's your journey, your victory. Stay strong, stay disciplined, and keep reclaiming your temple.